Hi everyone, in this video we are going to make another HTML and CSS based simple website. So this will be the corporate website that we are going to make. So I have designed this file in Figma. So this is the file that I have designed in Figma, and then I have written the code. So this is what we are going to make. The top section has the logo and the navigation menu. When I click on this, we get this nav bar. Then we have this hero content with 2 buttons. Then we have the service section in which I have used some cards. Then subscribe to a newsletter section. Then an about us section. We have this background as well, which I'm going to teach you how to place that. And then we have this nice footer, which is divided into 4 columns. So this page is completely responsive. So if I shrink down the page, you will see that the menu works and all the elements are neatly stacked vertically. So this is what we are going to make. So let's start. So here I have opened up VS Code. So what I've done is I've created a folder called corporate, and I've opened it up in VS Code. Inside the corporate folder, I have this folder images, which has all the images that we are going to use. So these images I've exported from my design. Then we have to create some basic files. So inside the corporate folder, I'm going to create one file called index.html. This will contains the markup, style.css, and also a JavaScript file, app.js, for the menu links functionality, which I'm going to write inside this. So in the index.html file, let's add the boilerplate code for HTML5. You can use emit, which comes pre-installed in VS Code. So just press exclamation mark and press tab. This will insert a basic HTML5 boilerplate. Let's change the title to corporate website. Now I'm going to link our style sheet. So right link and press tab. Here I'll give the name style.css, and in our project I'm going to use icons, which is box icon. So you can go to Google and search for box icons. So this is the link. Click here, click on this usage, and here I'm going to copy this, import the CSS as a link, and paste it before our style.css file. So we have added box icon, and next I'm going to add the font that we are going to use. So search for Google font. In here I'm going to use Montserrat. Search Mont, this one. Click on this get font, get embed code, and I'm going to import it in a CSS file. So copy this and paste it at the top of the style.css file. So we have added the Montserrat font. Now let's create the hero section, this section. So first let's begin a comment, hero section. In here I'm going to create a section tag with the class hero. So you can write like this in emit. If you want to create a class, you can use dot. If you want to create an ID, you can use hash. Press tab, the section is created. Now inside the section I'm going to create a container which will have a width of 1280 pixel. So the reason I'm creating a container, I want to place my content properly aligned. So this entire width is 1280 pixel, so that all our content are properly aligned. I'm going to write the CSS later for the container, but let me write the markup first. So container, inside the container I'm going to create a nav tag. This I'm going to create. So a nav bar contains the logo. I'm going to create a div for this, and here I'll use the box icon. So bx.bxl digital ocean. So you can go to box icon website and here search for digital ocean. This icon I'm going to use. So click on it and click on this font. You can also copy this and just paste it here. So let's see if it is working or not. Right click, it is not coming. Let me see why. I think I've not added the link properly, so let me go to the page again, click on usage. And I'm going to replace this. Now let's see. So we have the icon. Then after the logo, I have the menu link. So in the desktop version, I'm using the hamburger icon, which upon clicking it will expand and show our links. So I'm going to place it inside a div called nav links. The nav link will have that hamburger icon. So bx menu alt right. So this will be a hamburger icon, and then I'm going to create a UL tag. I'll create a list. Inside the list we'll have the anchor tags. This will be home. Duplicate this, press option shift and down arrow in Mac, it will duplicate. I'm going to change the name, services, about, and contact. So this is a navigation section done. So let's see how it look like. So since we have not added any styles to it, it looks like this. After this nav section, we are going to create the content section. So come after this, create a div with the class hero content. Now inside the content, we have this h4, we have this h1, we have the paragraph and 2 buttons. So we'll create a h4, company website. We'll create a h1, we provide, I'm going to use a br tag. In here I'll write exceptional services. Then I'm going to add a paragraph tag. Let me copy this text from here, paste it here. Then after this paragraph, I'll create the call to action button. So I'll create a div with the class call to action. Inside the div, I'll have 2 links. This link will have a class btn and primary. These are 2 classes that I'm going to apply to this link. This btn class will be the generic class, and this primary class will be the main style. Then here I'll write learn more. Just copy this again. I'm going to change this to pricing, and here I'll write cost. So this is the hero content, the markup for the hero content. Now let's write the styling to style the hero section, and also I'm going to write the general reset and some basic typography styles. So in the style.css file, first I'm going to create custom properties. So root, in here I'll write bg color. The color will be hash fa f9ff. Then I'm going to create a body, copy color. This will be hash 797979. Then I create a white color, which will be simply white. Then a black color. Then an accent color, hash fc bb1c, and then a primary color. Hash 1020 cf. Here I have to use 88. So these colors I have taken from my design file. These are the color. See, if you click on this, this is the color FC881C. This is for the accent color. Then I'm going to add a reset. So this is universal selector which selects every element in a page. I'll set the margin to 0 and padding to 0, and box sizing will be border box. Then I'll target the body. I'll set the background color to this PG color, and I'll set the font family Montserrat, and the fallback will be sans serif. Then let's give some styles to a basic element like h1, h2, h3, h4 and paragraph. So in the Figma file, what I've done is I've created some basic this template, this text style. So this h1 is 48 pixel, and the font family is Montserrat, and it is black. So likewise, I'm going to define it in a CSS. So h1, the font size will be 48 pixel, the color will be white, the font weight is going to be 900, bold, and letter spacing will be 2 pixel. Then for the h2, the font size will be 32 pixel and color will be black. Then for the h3, the font size will be 24 pixel, color will be black, and font weight will be 600 pixel. Sorry, 600. Then I'm going to style the paragraph. Color will be body copy, font weight will be 16 pixel, sorry, font size will be 16 pixel and font weight will be semi bold, that is 600. And lastly, I'll target the anchor tag, and I'm just going to remove the underline. So text decoration, none. Then I'm going to create the utility class, this container class that I've created. As I've told you that I'm going to set the width, max width for this container to be 1280 pixel. So let's write utility. So I'll target the container. I'll give it the max width of 1280 pixel. Display will be flex and margin 0 auto. So let me show you. If I give it a border 2 pixels solid red, so we have this container and the width is 1280 pixel. So if I inspect, see the width is 1280 pixel. So I've given it margin 0 auto to make it center horizontally. So if I remove this, you'll see like this. So that's why I've given this. Let me remove the border. And now what I'm going to do is I'll change the container width to 90% when the page is viewed in a mobile device. So I'll write media, max width 768 pixel, then a container width will be 90%. So we'll have some margin from the left and the right when we see our page in the mobile version. So now that we have written the typography style and some utility class, let's write the code for the hero section. So after this, I'll write hero section. So let's target this class hero. I'll give it a height of 100 VH, width of 100%, background I'll use linear gradient for that blue gradient, so RGBA, 24, 46, 96 and 1 for the transparency. This will be completely opaque, and here I'll write RGBA. The same value I'm going to write, and for the transparency 0.5. Then I'll write URL, and inside the images I have this pg.png. So let's see. Now let's write some background properties. So background size will be cover, background position will be center, background repeat will be no repeat, let's see. So we have the background. Now I'm going to add this border, rounded border. So for this I'll write border bottom left radius 80 pixel and border bottom right radius 80 pixel. So this value I get from my design file. See, we have this 80 pixel roundness. So let's see. So we have this rounded corner. Next I'm going to target the nav. So here I'll write nav. All around padding I'm going to give top and bottom 25 pixel, and right and left will be 0, and I'll write justify content space between. See, this nav has this class called container, and this class container has the display property flex. So that's why I don't need to write display flex here. I can just use justify content space between, and also I'll write position relative. So this will be used when I'm going to create this link, this UL link. So because I want to place this UL relative to this hamburger icon, that's why I've given it position relative, and afterwards I'll use position absolute in this UL. After the nav, let's work on the logo. So logo, I'm targeting the icon here. Font size will be 40 pixel, and color I'm going to use a different color, hash 81A0FE. Then I'm going to target the span. So here I missed one thing. I have to write span and the company name. So I'll target logo, then span. The color will be white. Font size will be 24 pixel, and font weight will be 900. Let's see why the color is not working. Let me see. Now I'm going to give the logo class display flex property. So let's write logo display flex, and I'll write align items center. Now let me add some margin. So write margin left 8 pixel. Now let's work on this menu hamburger icon. So I'll target this. This has a class called bx menu alt right. I'll give it a font size of 40 pixel. I'll set the color to white, and I'll set the cursor to pointer. So we have this. Next I'm going to work on this UL. So I'll target nav UL. I'll set the position to absolute. I'll set the background color to white. I'll give it the width of 100%. I'm going to remove the list style type none. Give it all round padding of 2%. So let's see. Then I'm going to write display flex and justify content center. Then I'll set the cap property to 50 pixel. And I will position it, left will be 0 and top will be 100 pixel. And then I'll write z index 10 to bring it up in the hierarchy. And finally, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the opacity to 0, so it is hidden in the desktop version, and we'll add the JavaScript functionality. So when you click here, the opacity will turn to 1, and I'll write transition 0.5 second, all ease in out. Now let's work on the links. So nav ul lia color, let's give it a black color. Border bottom 1 pixel dashed black. Text transform will be uppercase and font weight 600. So now our menu is created. Let's change this opacity to 1 to see. Now what I'm going to do is I'll create a class called show menu, and I'll set the display property to flex and opacity to 1. Now in the app.js file, I'll use the document.query selector. I'm going to select the menu link. I'm going to select the hamburger icon, which has a class box menu. And I'll add an event listener, which will listen to a click event. Then I'll run a function. Here I'm going to select the nav ul, so document dot query selector nav ul, and I'll add the class, so class list dot toggle the show menu class, show menu. And lastly, I'm going to add this JavaScript file here, so js file script src app.js. So let's see. So it's working. So here I can remove this. I have written this by mistake. Then let's create the mobile version. So like the media query, so add media max width 768 pixel. So when our screen size is below 768 pixel, this rule will apply. So nav ul flex direction will be column, and I'll set a padding, all round padding 24 pixel. So let's see. So in the mobile version, if I click, our links are displayed vertically. So we have created the link. So now let's work on this content. So after this media query, let's target this class hero content. Now I'll set a width of 35%, margin 0 auto, so it will come to the center, position relative, and from the top I'm going to displace this 25% down. I'll write text align. So we have this. Now let's target the H4 paragraph. So here I'm going to use CSS nesting, which is newly introduced in CSS. So we have this nesting when we use some kind of preprocessor like SAS or less. So now we can use nesting in normal CSS. So inside this hero content, this curly braces, I can write H4, color will be accent color. So let's see the style is applied. So we are using nesting. This H4 is inside this hero content. This H4 is inside this hero content. So we can nest. Now I'll target the paragraph. I'll give it a white color. I'll give it a font weight of 400 and line height 1.5. So let's see. Next I'm going to use the adjacent sibling combinator to add some margin. So I'll select every element. So this is the adjacent sibling combinator. It selects an element that is immediately preceded by another element. So here this will select this H1, this will select this P. This will not select H4 because it is not immediately preceded by any element. So here I'll write margin top and bottom 20 pixel, right and left 0. So you'll see we have this margin. In the H1, this H4, the margin is not applied to this H4. This H1 has this top margin of 20 pixel. This paragraph has a top margin of 20 pixel, but this H4 does not have any margin. So this is what we have done using this adjacent sibling combinator. Then I'm going to add some margin top to the CTA class which contains the button. So margin top 40 pixel to push down the button a little more. Now let's style the button. So for the button I'm going to come out from this hero content because I will use the button elsewhere in the page. That's why I'm going to come out from this hero content and I'll write btn border radius 20 pixel, color will be white, font weight 600 and display will be inline block. And now I'll target the primary class. So button dot primary, background color will be primary, let me see why it's not working. And padding top and bottom 10 pixel, right and left 20 pixel, and I'll set a margin right to 20 pixel. Now let's style the coast button. So write btn dot coast. I'll just set a border 2 pixel solid white and a padding 7 pixel top and bottom, right and left 24 pixel. So this is the content. Now let's style it for the mobile version. So I'll write at media max width 768 pixel. I'll target the hero content, this class, and I'll give it the width of 90%. Since in the desktop version this hero content has a width of 35%, in the mobile I've increased the width to 90%, and Finally, I'm just going to target the h1 and I'll reduce the font size to 36 pixel. So let's see. So this is the mobile version of the hero content. So we have created the hero section. Next we are going to work on this services section. So after the hero section, let's create another section. First write a comment, service section. Here I'm going to create a new section and give it a class service. Now inside this section I'm going to create a header. So a header is going to contain this h4 and h2 element. So here I'll write, here I'm going to create a div, empty div, and inside that I'm going to have that h4 element, our services, and h2 element, what we do for our customer. Then after this header I'm going to create different cards like these. So for that I'm going to create a div with a class service cards, and also I'm going to wrap this div inside the container class which we have created. Now I'm going to create individual cards. So I'll give it a class card. This will have the icon bx, this is the icon. Let's see. Let me open this up with live server. So we have the icon. To make the icon big, we have a class called bxlg. This will increase the size of the icon. Then I'm going to use a h3 tag, graphic solutions, paragraph tag. Let's copy the content from here, and then for the button I'll use the anchor tag. I'll give it a class btn and primary, and here I'll write no more. So this is one card, this one. Now I'm going to create two more. So I'm just going to copy this and paste it 2 times. Now here I'm going to change the class. Here it will be bean here. Change this to area mapping, and here I'm going to change book reader and this h3 to content creation. So let's save this. So we have our 3 cards. Now let's style it. Go to style.css file, and after the hero section I'm going to create a comment, service section. Here I'll target the service class. I'll set a background image. This background image I'm going to set this one, background image, URL, images. I have given a name decor1. Background size will be cover, background position will be center, background repeat will be no repeat. So let's see. Since we don't have any padding, or I have not given any height, that's why it's not visible now. So now let's target this header. Let me first give some classes to it. So I'll write class service header, and also I'm going to give it a class called container. Now I'm going to target the header. So here I'm nesting it since it is inside the service section. So I can write header dot service header. I'll give it a padding top 50 pixel. Now inside the service header we have h4 and h2. So let's style it. So inside the service header I'll target the h4. I'll give it a margin bottom 18 pixel, and then I'm going to use the parent selector, which is ampersand, and I'm going to target the container. Since we have already given display flex to the container, I can write text align center and justify content center. See, we have this aligned properly. So this is the parent selector. Now I'll come out from this header, and then I'm going to target the cards. So service, this card, this entire div I'm going to target. Service cards, I'll set a margin top 200 pixel and margin bottom to 150 pixel and gap 32 pixel. After this, I'm going to style the individual cards. So card, I'll give it a padding, all round padding 50 pixel. Text align will be center. Background color, I'm going to set white color. I'll give it a border radius 16 pixel and a box shadow. RGBA value 149, 157, 165, 0.2 for the transparency. Here 0, 8, and this value 24. So we have this box shadow here. Then inside the card I'm going to target the I tags. I'll give it a color primary. Now again I'm going to use that adjacent sibling selector trick to set the margin top 18 pixel. So we have the margin 18 pixel here. Then I'm going to target the button BTN primary. I'll give it a margin right. I'll reset the margin right to 0. Since we have given a margin right here, I'm going to reset that margin. So this is the CSS rules for the desktop version. Now let's see. So we have the background properly shown. Now if I see this page in a mobile version, so these cards are stacking horizontally. So I want this to stack vertically. So let's write the media query here. So inside this service class, I'm writing the media query. So add media max width 768 pixel. I'm just going to change the flex direction on this service card to column. Let's see. So now they are stacked vertically. So this all we have to do to make the mobile version for this page. So this is the service section. Next we are going to write code for the newsletter section. So back in the index.html page, after this service section, I'm going to begin a comment newsletter section. I'll create a section with the class newsletter. Inside this section, I'm going to create a div with a class container. Now inside this div we have two parts. See, we have this left part which contains this text, and we have this right part which has this form. So I'm going to create two div, one for the left content and one div for the right content. So in the left content we have the h3 with this text. So I'm just going to copy this from the original site and paste it here. And in the right part we have a form. I'm going to remove the action since I'm not submitting it to any server. In the form I'm going to write h4 tag subscribe to a newsletter, and then I'm going to create a div to wrap the form element. I'll create an input of type text, remove the name, we don't require this. I'll give it an ID search, and then I'm going to create a simple button with subscribe inside it. So this is the markup for the newsletter section. Now let's write the CSS rule for it. So after the service section I'm going to begin a comment, newsletter. Here first I'm going to target the newsletter class. I'll give it a background image, linear gradient 24, 46, 96, full opacity 1, RGBA 24, 46, 96, and opacity 0.5. For the URL I'm going to use this pg2. So we are creating this background. Now we'll add some background properties. So background repeat will be no repeat, background size will be cover, background position will be center, and I will set a all around padding of 150 pixel. So let's see. So we have this now. Now I'm going to target this h3 and h4, and I'll change the color to white. So inside this newsletter section I'm going to target h3 and h4, give it a color white, and then I'm going to target the container, and I will set align items center and gap 60 pixel. So we have this gap. Now I'm going to target the left content, and I'll set a flex basis property which you can use to set a width to a flex children. So flex basis 35% for the left side, and for the right side, right content, I'll set the flex basis to 65%. So let's see. Let me add a background just to show you. See, we have this 35% and this one is 65 pixel. Sorry, this one is 65%, and we have this gap of 60 pixel here. Now let's remove this. Now I'm going to style the form. So I'm going to style it like this with a blue background and a input box and this text in between. So I'll first give it a color, background color, primary. I'll set this to display flex. I'll give it all around padding of 50 pixel and justify content space between align item to center, and I'll set the position to relative because I'm going to change the position of the text field based on this form element. So we have this. Now I'm going to target this text field. So this is inside the form, so I can nest it. So I'll write input type equal text. I'll set a width of 400 pixel, padding 12 pixel all around, give it a border radius of 48 pixel, and I'm going to remove the outline to none and border to none. So let's see. So this is how it look like. Now let's style the button. Now this position here will be absolute, right will be 55 pixel, it is here now, and top is going to be 54 pixel. You have to be pixel perfect when you are using absolute positioning. You need to try this a few times to get the exact number. Background color will be primary and the text color will be white. All around padding, top and bottom will be 8 pixel to give it a shape of a button, 16 pixel right and left. Border will be 0 and border radius will be, the corner radius will be 24 pixel. So we have this button. Now let's write the media queries. So let's shrink this page. It looks like this. So I'm going to write after this form element, I'm going to write media queries. So add media, max width 768 pixel. Now I'm going to target the container. This container I'm going to target. So I'll write ampersand, which is for the parent. The parent is this newsletter, and inside this I have the container. I'll set the flex direction to column like this, and then I'm going to target this newsletter. So I can write parent dot newsletter. I'll give it a padding 32 pixel. Now after this I'm going to target the left content. I'll give it a text align property to center and margin top to 0. Now I'm going to target the form. Here flex direction is going to be column. I'm going to reduce the gap to 40 pixel. Let's see. Now after this let's target the button, and I'm just going to change the top to 130 pixel. So this is the mobile version of this newsletter section. So now let's create the about us section. So about section, I'm going to create a section tag with a class about. Inside this I'm again going to create a header with a class about header, and also a class that contains a utility class. Now inside the header I'm going to create a div. I'm going to create a h4 tag about us, and h2 tag learn who we are. Now after this header I'm going to add these images. So I'll create a div with a class about content, and also I'll give it a class container. Now here I'm just going to use the images, so I'll use the image tag. Source will be images, this one will be about one. I'm just going to duplicate this, press shift option and down arrow 3 times, it will be get duplicated 3 times. Now change this to 2, 3 and 4. And finally, after this div, I'm going to create a div with the class decor box. So this div, this I'm going to create in code. So this is the markup for the about section. Now let's style it. So here, after this newsletter, I'm going to create a comment about a section. Let's select the section itself, background image, will be URL, this decor 2, this image is different from this image. Background size will be cover, background position will be center, background repeat, no repeat. I'll set the position to relative. This position relative I'm writing to align this decor box in this page relative to this entire section. That's why I'm giving position relative here. Then I'll write margin top and bottom 50 pixel, right and left 0. Now let's target the header. So header dot about header. Here I'll write margin 0 auto. Now I'm going to target h4. See, the h4 is inside this header, so I can write here h4 margin bottom 16 pixel, and then I'm going to select the parent container. I'll set text align center and justify content center. So we have this. Now let's work on this about content section. So after this header, I'll write about content. I'll set the justify content to space between. Let's see. So we have the space around the images, and I'll set a padding top and bottom 100 pixel, and right and left 0. So we have this some space here. We have this padding 100 and padding 100 down here. Now let's work on that decor box. This blue box. Just select it. Now here I'm going to write position absolute. I'll give it a height of 100 pixel, a width of 40%. Background color will be this primary color. I'll write right 0. Let's see. We have this now. And I'll set bottom 100 pixel. So from bottom it will go up. Now I'm going to place it behind the image. So I'll set the z index property to -1. So it will go behind the image. And then finally I'm going to round the border. And after this I'll write border bottom right radius 80 pixel. So we have this rounded bottom. So this is the about a section for the desktop version. Now let's try for the mobile version. So inside this I'll write at media max width 768 pixel. So here I'll target about content and I will write align items. First I'm going to change the direction, so flex direction to column. So let's see. So images are stacked vertically, and then I'm going to align items center and I'll set a gap of 30 pixel. See, we have this. So finally let's work on the footer for our page. So back in the index.html file, after this section I'm going to use the HTML5 footer tag. Here first I'm going to create a container. Now inside this container I'm going to have 4 sections. Since we have 4 sections here, 1 2 3 4, I'm going to create one. This one will be 2 3 4. Now inside this I have the logo. So logo bx, this is the logo, and then we have the span. So we have it here. After this we have the icons. So I'm going to create a div with the class icons, and then I'm going to write the box icon code. So bx, pxl, Facebook, circle, and also I'm going to give it a bx small class, so icon will be small. Just copy this 4 times, change this to Twitter, change this to YouTube, change this to Pinterest. Now let's see. So we have the 4 icons. Now let's work on the section number 2. Here we'll have the links, this links. So I'll use a h3 tag, links. Then I'm going to use a ul tag. Inside this I'll have li, and then I'll use the anchor tag, and here I'll write home, duplicate this 4 times. This will be services, blog, testimony, and contact. Now in this 3rd section, again I'm going to just copy this, paste it here. Supports, here I have 3 LIs, 3 links, so I'm just going to change this. FAQ, chat, let's keep this blog. And in the 4 div I have a contact, then a UL. Inside this I'm just going to use 2 paragraphs. So this is the markup for the footer. Let's see how it look like. Now let's style this. Go back to the style.css file. After this section, let's create a comment. Footer. Target the footer. Background color will be white. I'll set all around padding top and bottom 50 pixel, right and left 0. Then I'm going to target the container. In here I'll write justify content space between. So let's see. So we have this. Then I'm going to target h3, font size 16 pixel. Then I'm going to target the anchor tag. I'll give it a color black. Then I'll target logo span and give it a color black. Then let's target the icons. So icons I, here I'll give it a primary color, margin right 16 pixel, and margin top I'm going to specify 16 pixel. Then I'm going to target the UL itself. So UL will be list, style type will be none, and text align I'm going to write left. Then I'm going to target the LI, and I'll set a padding top and bottom 16 pixel, right and left 0. So we have some padding here. Then I'm going to target this paragraph. So I can write 4 para, margin top 16 pixel. Let me do one thing. I'm just going to remove this UL. Instead of UL I'll write a div. So this is the footer. Now I'm going to add this blue border. This is the border. So I'm going to target the parent. I can do that using the ampersand. I'll give it a border bottom, let's say 100 pixel, solid and primary color. Let's see. Oh, it's not working. Let me check. So now we have the border. So let's write the media queries. So right now it looks like this. So I'm just going to change the flex direction to column. So here I'll write add media max width 768 pixel. Just going to change the flex direction of the container. So flex direction to column. Let's see. And I'll just add a gap of 62 pixel between the flex items. So I'll write gap 62 pixel. So let's see. So we have this gap of 62 pixel. So this is the page. A menu is working. So this is how it will look like in mobile version, and this is how it will look like in desktop version. So we have completed this project. I hope you like this video. You can download the code as well as this design file from the link in the description. So I hope you like this video, and if you do, please subscribe to my channel and also give a like to this video. Thank you, and I'll see you later.